Man, those factory customizers over in China sure have been busy lately. I mean, just look at all of these McQueen factory customs that they have come out with over the last year. And today we'll be focusing on a very, very special one. And let me just set the stage for it. I mean, whenever they do one of these factory customs that it's a unique paint job on a Mattel McQueen, a Mattel body for a McQueen that Mattel has never attempted before, it definitely raises some eyebrows, but you could always track them back to some sort of origin. And most of the time, they just copy what Tomica does. As you can see here with the Cherry Blossom McQueen, that is just straight copying the Tomica version, putting those decals on a Mattel McQueen body. They did that with this one over here as well. And while it's super cool, it isn't the most original. And you even have these where it is literally just Cars 3 Lightning McQueen, but yellow. So that raises the question, where did this one come from? Where did the inspiration for this Dinoco Fabulous Lightning McQueen come from if there isn't a Tomica one to base it on? And the answer is, it is the original concept paint job for McQueen during the final race of Cars 3 in the Florida 500. If you look in the Art of Cars 3 book, all the concept art shows that this was from a deleted scene in which Sterling went with Cruz Ramirez, which is the exact opposite of what he ends up doing. And then McQueen suddenly switches to Dinoco because Tex Dinoco is there, and it's super unrealistic for that all to happen. But you have to admit, it's a fun thought because then McQueen ends up winning the Florida 500 by himself against all the next gens as the Dinoco racer. So kind of unbelievable for that to happen, but as a McQueen fan who, I mean, we've never really seen McQueen win a race in the movie. Sure, he won at Porta Corsa, but really, we've never seen McQueen win a race in a big way in any of the movies or the shorts or Cars on the Road. So it would have been super cool. Obviously, they didn't end up going that direction, but we do have this kind of what-if situation to play with, and this is at the core of that. Now, I actually had a custom of this exact paint job done a long time ago, and unfortunately, I never got around to reviewing it, so I guess this will be kind of like a duo buo review. This is a handmade custom by Joe Elagato, who I used to get a lot of customs from. He was very active in the Cars community back in the day. Not so much anymore, but basically what he did here was apply the Dinoco decals, the 51 and all that stuff, onto a regular fabulous Lightning McQueen, which obviously saved him quite a bit of work, as you can see here, because a lot of the decals are the same. It just is Dinoco instead of Rust-eze. So it's going to be a fun video today because we have the real deal that appears in the movie from Mattel here, Rust-eze Fabulous McQueen. We have what they're tributing, Doc Hudson, and then we have the two customs, the handmade version and then the fake. So let's just start with the fake here. That is true. These are fake counterfeit releases. Let's take a look at the base to prove it. Children's toy car made in China that screams factory custom because it's not referencing Mattel. There's no date stamp, etc. Now there are going to be some factory customs that have a more legitimate looking base, but if you see something like that, you know for sure. He does kind of have this more unique expression that we don't see on any of the Mattel stuff, which is good. As you can see here, it's a little bit different from what we're used to. A little bit different smile, different eye positioning. And it's pretty similar to what they put on the yellow Lightning McQueen here, which is awesome. I did him in my 12 Days of Christmas this year. But yeah, he's got the Dinoco logo, Dinoco Power text on each side, Lightning McQueen text on his roof edges, the 51s in the four corners, which is a direct callback to Doc Hudson. I mean, everything is taken directly from him. You have the Fabulous Lightning McQueen text here in the same aesthetic font style as Doc Hudson. You have the old-timey Piston Cup logo with the checkered flags coming out of each side. You have the red wheels here with no Lightyear text, although they probably should have the Lightyear text, but it does kind of make it feel a little bit more like Doc Hudson, even though his did have the text that said Dirt Track Racer. Transparent windows you can kind of see to the other side, and that's just how they are with the factory customs. Red window bars there, No text on the spoiler, which I do believe is accurate. Then you have 51 with the gas cap imprinted in there. That's actually very sharp. I like how the gas cap looks on the factory custom here. Nothing on the back, which I don't think that would be accurate. Yeah, that is not supposed to be the case, but at the end of the day, it is a factory custom, and whoever came up with this idea definitely was smart and creative. Like, hey, like, I know what those people want. Those collectors, them fans want. They want this deleted scene, Lightning McQueen, where he was sponsored by Dinoco. But we don't have all the necessary imagery to reconstruct the decals, and so that's probably why they're missing those ones on the back. But they still did a really nice job, I think, and I paid a lot of money for the handmade custom, and these only cost like $10. So I'd say that's a good deal to get something that's a little bit more special than a yellow Lightning McQueen or literally a carbon copy of the Tomica version on a Mattel version. Like, this is almost canon. Like, it's something that I could conceivably see Mattel doing. Like, hey, like, deleted scene cars. Like, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of cool. It just feels a little bit more, I don't know, what's a good word for it? It just feels, because it's got the ties to Doc Hudson and Dinoco, more historic. It has a bigger part in the Cars universe and just kind of the history of the Cars films and the making of them, right? So really a big fan of this. Now let's compare him, though, to the handmade custom, which is going to likely be superior here. He does have the McQueen, Fabulous Lightning McQueen expression, so that is different. A slightly different shade of blue as well. The Dinoco logo is a little bit darker, especially for the Dino there, but it is pretty clear on the factory custom and bigger. The Dinoco power text is a little bit chunkier and kind of blends together. It doesn't look incredible. Can't fully read it in some spots there, like right there at the beginning. It's a little squunched together where it's super clear on the factory custom. You do have the Lightyear black tires. You have a different Piston Cup logo. This is kind of more of the Piston Cup official logo that you would see on Race Official Tom or somebody who works for the Piston Cup. So I actually think the factory custom got that correct, because if you look back to Doc Hudson, he has that older Piston Cup logo with the checkered flags on either side. So I think that's a point for the factory custom. The Fabulous Lightning McQueen text is pretty much the same. Obviously, it's positioned and colored a little bit differently. I'm glad that the factory custom spelled it correctly. It kind of feels almost like the factory customizers are like AI sometimes, just doing like a complete NPC move, just what they would be expected to do, not too original. And like AI spells stuff wrong. I mean, we've seen factory customizers spell some stuff wrong before, but they got this right, and it looks good. You have the 51s on either side. I have to give it to the factory custom. You got the orange reddish outline. The gas cap looks good. And it just kind of looks like a weird Thailand style decal, honestly, on the custom here, the handmade one. Take a look at the roofs. Again, Lightning McQueen and the 51 in the four corners. A little bit smaller on the factory custom, but the 51s just look clearer. Yeah. I hate dogging. I'm not really dogging on a handmade custom. Like, I hate doing that, but we are comparing, and hey, I wasn't paid to do this review for the customizer. I never am, in fact, so I always give my honest thoughts on it, but I did pay money for it. Like, I still like it a lot. Would I have paid for it knowing that eventually in like 3 years there would be a factory custom of it? Absolutely not. Even though, as you can see, the handmade custom has all the correct decals here on the back. You got the Rust-eze on the wing or the spoiler. You got the Hudson Hornet logo there, which of course is on the back of Doc Hudson. And then for Doc Hudson, which is something that the real deal one has that they actually put in the movie, because this is a paint job tributing Doc Hudson after all. It doesn't seem like McQueen sticks with this paint job for that long. He coaches Cruz Ramirez with it, is a crew chief maybe for a few races or so, and then probably, as we saw in Cars on the Road, went back to his usual Cars 3 paint job. You also have the blue window bars instead of red. So yeah, good stuff all around. You guys gotta let me know, would you have rather seen this scene in Cars 3 over what we got? I mean, Of course, quite a bit different how the story unfolded. Cruz comes into the race halfway through. McQueen exits instead of both of them racing against each other. And I guess I'm just, making McQueen super overpowered or going off high emotion adrenaline. That's what allowed him to beat all these next-gen racers, and Cruz, who he just saw earlier in the movie, beat him time in and time again. So maybe they would have changed some other things to make it more believable. Like maybe Cruz doesn't beat him at Thomasville or Fireball Beach or wherever it is, So as much as my heart's like, oh my God, I would have loved to see McQueen win and go out in such a, screw you, Jackson Storm way, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It makes more sense for if Cruz to come in and finish the race, and then they're both kind of winners. So I think they probably went like the best way. I do have complaints about Cars 3 all in all, but at the end of the day, it had a pretty good story. And then just a quick comparison between the real deal in the movie and then the deleted scene factory custom. You got Rust-eze decals, 95, and the bolts. So those are going to be your major differences here. Very similar though on the back in terms of what you saw on the, actually he didn't change it at all. The factory, the handmade customizer did not change anything on the back here. And of course the factory custom just doesn't have anything at all. So yeah, they probably didn't know what to put there, so they just didn't put anything at all. And now I want to compare him to Doc Hudson here. So this is your Dirt Track Fabulous Hudson Hornet here. And a lot of the stuff is very similar. Like instead of Twin H power, you have Dinoco power. Instead of Fabulous Hudson Hornet, it's Fabulous Lightning McQueen. Instead of Hudson Hornet on the roof edges, it's Lightning McQueen. But he does have the same number now. But, they really did change a lot of the stuff, because instead of McQueen taking on 51 here, Cruz takes on the 51 when she ends up becoming the Dinoco racer at the very end of Cars 3. So even though she never races with the 51, she does become the 51 racer like Doc Hudson. So both of them, in a sense, end up honoring Doc. McQueen through his paint job and Cruz through selecting her number. So interesting stuff all around. I thought for laughs and giggles, show you guys the Dinoco McQueen, because we do have to remember it was McQueen's dream for a very long time in Cars 1 to become the Dinoco racer. So another reason why I would have liked them to go with this storyline, because it would be a full circle moment for McQueen becoming the Dinoco racer that he always wanted to be, even though he declined it at the end of Cars 1, but now completely different circumstances have made it so. But man, there's a lot to be debated about how they did Cars 3 and how the whole Rust-eze Dinoco dynamic worked itself out. But that's all I have for you guys today. What the hell? Let me know in the comments below, would you have preferred to see this version of McQueen or this storyline in Cars 3? And what of all these factory custom McQueens that we got in 2023, which is your favorite? I have already reviewed, actually no, I haven't reviewed any of these. I have done the yellow version. Now I've done this Dinoco version. I intend to review them all at some point. I'll probably do the pinstriping or the hot rod one here next, because it's so cool. I love the flames on it. And we'll do a comparison to the Tomica version. But yeah, guys, thanks as always for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys soon for another video. Bye now.